In 1958, Howard Hawks walked onto a film set for the first time in 4 years. He was 62 years old. His last movie had bombed so badly he fled to Europe and genuinely wondered if his career was over. This was supposed to be his comeback, a Western with John Wayne. On the very first day of shooting, Hawks stepped behind a set and threw up. Then he wiped his mouth, walked back in front of the cameras, and calmly began directing what would become one of the most influential Westerns ever made. But Hawks didn't make the film because of some grand artistic vision. He made it because he hated another Western, an Oscar winner that everyone else loved, and he wanted to prove it wrong. This is the story of a petty grudge, a day-one collapse of nerves, and how all of that somehow produced the only John Wayne film Quentin Tarantino calls a masterpiece. In 1952, a Western called High Noon became a sensation. Gary Cooper played a sheriff who learns that outlaws are coming to town to kill him. With only hours to prepare, he asks the townspeople for help. One by one, they refuse. His deputy quits. His friends make excuses. In the end, his wife, a Quaker pacifist who doesn't even believe in violence, picks up a gun and saves his life. Critics called it a masterpiece. It won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Cooper. Many interpreted it as a Cold War allegory about standing alone when others lack courage. Howard Hawks watched it and despised it. He said he couldn't accept the idea of a strong sheriff running around town begging for help, only to be rescued by his pacifist wife. That, he insisted, was not his idea of a Western hero. So Hawks decided to make his own version, a Western where the sheriff doesn't beg, where the people around him are capable, and where professionals hold their ground under pressure. Studios weren't initially interested. Another Western in the late 1950s didn't sound exciting, but when Hawks mentioned he wanted John Wayne, everything changed. For the supporting cast, Hawks made unusual choices. Dean Martin, known primarily as a singer and Rat Pack star, was cast as a deputy battling alcoholism. Walter Brennan played a cranky, physically fragile old man who could still outshoot anyone. Angie Dickinson took the role of a sharp, confident gambler who matched Wayne line for line. Casting the young gunslinger proved trickier. Hawks wanted Elvis Presley, who was interested, but negotiations collapsed when Colonel Tom Parker demanded excessive money and top billing over Wayne. Hawks refused. Soon after, Elvis was drafted into the Army. The role went to Ricky Nelson, a teen idol with little acting experience, who surprised many by delivering a strong performance. During Hawks, years away from Hollywood, he had closely observed American television. Western shows like Gunsmoke and Wagon Train dominated ratings. Hawks noticed something important. Audiences didn't return for surprising plots. They returned because they liked spending time with the characters. That insight reshaped his approach. Instead of building a film around relentless suspense, Hawks crafted a story where viewers could simply enjoy the company of the characters. Scenes were allowed to breathe. Conversations stretched out. Tension simmered quietly in the background. The plot itself was almost deceptively simple. Wayne played a sheriff who arrests a man for murder. The complication: the prisoner's brother is a wealthy rancher with an army of hired guns. Rather than attack directly, the rancher surrounds the town, cuts off outside help, and waits. The film follows Wayne and his small group of allies holding their ground. Hawks stretched this premise across an unusually long running time for a Western, over 2 hours. Yet it worked because the audience wasn't just watching events unfold. They were living alongside the characters. The film was released in 1959. It was called Rio Bravo. It didn't win awards. High Noon had earned 4 Oscars. Rio Bravo received no nominations. But it was financially successful, reaffirmed Hawks' reputation, and helped define the screen persona Wayne would carry for the rest of his career. Years later, Roger Ebert praised the film as the work of a master craftsman, describing it as seamless, absorbing, and effortlessly flowing despite its length. Hawks liked the formula so much he effectively revisited it multiple times. The structure, skilled professionals under siege, relying on competence and camaraderie, proved enduring. John Carpenter drew direct inspiration for Assault on Precinct 13. But perhaps no one was more deeply influenced than Quentin Tarantino. He first saw Rio Bravo as a child and returned to it obsessively throughout his life. He has called it his favorite Western of all time. When introducing a screening at the Cannes Film Festival, Tarantino described it not just as a great Western, but as one of cinema's greatest hangout movies. His explanation captured the film's magic. Some movies allow you to spend so much time with the characters that they begin to feel like friends. Watching the film again becomes less about plot and more about revisiting familiar company. That philosophy echoes throughout Tarantino's own work. Long conversations, extended scenes, and slowly building tension driven by character rather than constant action. Tarantino didn't invent that style. He learned it from a film made by a 62-year-old director who, on his first day back in Hollywood, quietly threw up behind a set and then walked out to create a classic.